Hi, welcome to Drama Means. We're talking about the 2024 Thai drama Ready, Set, Love. Today, drama means romance, drama means a statement on society, and drama means a lot of ridiculousness.
So first, a little bit of a summary. In a world where men are an endangered species, the government sponsors a matchmaking reality show to attempt to find love for 5 eligible bachelors. When an unremarkable woman unexpectedly wins a lottery to compete in the show, she doesn't do it to find love, but to secure a better future for her and her sister. But maybe she can have both. So a lot of times at the top of one of our podcast episodes, Mel starts out by saying, I didn't really know much about this drama when we started. I literally knew nothing about this drama when we started, other than the fact that you said, it's probably going to suck. Like, I've been holding off watching this one because it doesn't look very good. It's probably going to suck.
Let me explain myself. I didn't have high hopes for it, even though one of my biases is Blue. Like, I had been following him on Instagram and TikTok for a while. It's funny because I first came across him because he did a dance video with Mark Siwa.
Mm-hmm.
So I just knew that he dances, and then I later, I know he acts and he's a spokesperson for a lot of different brands and stuff. I don't know, I have never seen him act before. Apparently I did see him act before, but I never know.
You didn't realize it?
I didn't realize it because I actually recently rewatched Reminders, which is like 3 episodes, and it lets the audience remember No and Pun from Lovesick.
Okay.
And then they had Perth and Saint from Love by Chance, and Mean and Plan, and they changed their character names for this 3-episode thing.
So it was an unauthorized reunion?
Well, I don't really know because it was directed by New, who I think at the time was an assistant director on Lovesick, and then he was the director on Love by Chance. And everyone was like, oh, when are we going to get season 2? When are we going to get, a sequel? Stuff like that. And instead of doing a sequel or like a, season 2. Well, season 2 of Love by Chance did come later.
Mm-hmm.
But, with Reminders, it was just like kind of like a little gift to the fans or whatever it was. And somehow I missed it, but Blue was in it. But he was like a child. And so I never paid attention to the child, right? So it was just kind of like, oh, it's all, for me, I watched it because of Captain and White, because they played No and Poon in Lovesick, which was like my first Thai BL series
mm-hmm.
that I ever watched.
Yeah, I remember you watching that one.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, I wanted to rewatch, Captain and White, and that will never happen again. They're actually rebooting Lovesick, and I think they're going to air it sometime this year in 2024, like a whole new, cast.
A reimagining.
Yeah.
Of a classic Thai BL.
Yeah. So it's weird. I kind of feel, I know this is super off topic, but I don't know how I feel about this new reboot, because Lovesick was so dear to me because it was my first Thai BL series, but also, there were a lot of issues with Lovesick that I'm kind of curious to see how they, improve it.
Well, also the quality of Thai BL, Thai television in general seems to have come a long way. So a lot of these productions that were in the beginning really low budget, film school quality kind of stuff, I think that's one of the reasons I think you look to reboot some of these is going, well, now that we're established, now that we're an actual respected media form, I guess, or storytelling form, they're like, well, we can do this better because we actually have resources now, which is good and bad, because like ask anybody about Star Wars, like when George Lucas went and started tinkering with Star Wars because he had extra money. You're like, no, you were better when you had no money, because you had to figure it out and be creative, and when you had all the money in the world, the quality started, it was just all flash and no, what do you call it, content, or no substance. That's the word I was looking for. Substance. Yeah. So too much money, no substance.
Yeah.
Okay, so fair enough. I mean, yeah. You like Blue, but you were like, I don't know about his acting. I don't know if he can carry a show. And the thumbnail is a little goofy, too.
Well, you have to understand, like, I did watch the preview for it when it first was airing, and it was silly. It was super comedic, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this. And also Netflix.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Netflix thing. I have a hard time with some of their stuff where it doesn't feel like whoever works at quality control over there doesn't always have their... they've got their blinders on sometimes. It's like, that's fine. It's good enough.
Yeah, so I did not have high hopes for it.
Well, that being said, and I was actually shocked when just the premise of it, like, I was really just expecting, like, behind the scenes of a dumb reality dating show, and like, Love Island, the Thai version, and it was not that.
No, I mean, it was definitely parodying it.
Oh yeah, this is big time satire in a way that I was not expecting, and it's probably why from the jump I kind of enjoyed it, because they weren't just, hey, let's follow a reality show. They're making fun of the entire genre, the entire existence of reality, and especially reality dating shows. They go so hard at them in a parody. I was like, yeah, I'm on board for it, because I think those shows are ridiculous. You guys can love them.
Well,
I know people love them. A lot of people watch them. People love the dating shows. There's a reason there's a billion of them. I think they're so overproduced, and and the hosts are the worst part. They're so cringe to me. So, yeah, I'm all about making fun of them.
I mean, considering we made our start in reality TV, but like, so we know like a lot of like the overproduced behind the scenes of it. So yeah, I'm not huge on reality, but then I also love His Man, which is like...
We've already talked about that on this podcast.
I
if you
know.
haven't listened to that episode, and there's a His Man 2 coming out, or it's already
3.
out. 3. His Man 3 is out now.
I'm currently watching His Man 3. The first 2 episodes are out. I think actually the next episodes are out now.
You are not allowed to get sidetracked into yet another show that is not this one. Because we've already talked about Lovesick. And now we're talking about His Man. No, it's Ready, Set, Love, the 2024 Thai drama. Did you not hear yourself in the opening?
Yes, I know we're talking about Ready, Set, Love. And I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was hilarious. Like, super over the top. Slapstick. But it's funny. And it had, like, reasoning for, like, all the, like, different... outcomes and like the way they behaved. It's just, it was so funny. And I've watched her, Belle, like, in lots of other things. She was in that badminton one that I talked about.
Oh, yes, the badminton drama.
Yeah, I still don't remember the name of it.
It's okay. No one does.
No, it's like Edge of Reason, and it starts with an S. I just cannot freaking remember. Because Spike was obviously my favorite because volleyball. But anyway, she was the female lead in the badminton one. So I've watched her, like, from a long time ago, and she's been, under that Nadal camp, and which I actually think this is, like, since Nadal is not there anymore, like, it doesn't really exist anymore, but... I think that maybe the director is also Nadal camp, the actors are Nadal camp. But yeah, I actually have not, like, I was indifferent about her, but like, she's very endearing in this one, and I think this is the first project of hers that I'm like, oh yeah, I like her.
Yeah, I really felt like they took care in everything. Like, I really felt that it was well thought out, that the motivations for characters were well thought out, and the setup was well thought out, and they really didn't just kind of wave their hands at anything. They were kind of consistent in the fact that no, we're going to care about this character. We're going to put them in this situation. Why are they behaving like this? Well, here's the answer to that. It didn't ever feel like, wait, what? Why are you doing this? Because the show needs it. Like, it just felt like whoever was behind the scenes, directing, writing, producing, just down to like the cars they drove were so specific. And just the way that her apartment looked, and then the way the rich people lived, the way their, utopia in the farm looks, like everything was just so purposeful. And I think that's why the slapstick works, because it wasn't slapstick for slapstick's sake. It was, she was a goofball at the start, right? And so she brought that slapstick, and then she kind of softens up some of the other characters. And then we get into like the hosts of this reality show, who to me, like there was that one shot, I can't remember if it was in the first couple episodes, where they do like the triple zoom on one of the hosts, where she's like, and now they will go, zoom, on their first date, zoom, to find love, zoom, mwah. And it's just like, what? Like, it's just so over the top, but like you can see where that comes from in the culture of these dating shows, of like how overproduced they are.
Yeah, they're totally making fun of it.
Yeah, it's I think it's fantastic like that.
Yeah, and it's the thing is, with parody, it's supposed to be over the top.
Yeah. So
I feel like it's definitely like has the right tone, it knows what it is, it has a bigger message, but I feel like they created a good story and presented you that message. So for me it worked. I loved that it was, all the parodies of like the reality dating show and like aspects of Squid Game.
Yeah, when the ladies that come out in their masks and like
but even
gun the girl.
speaker.
Yeah, the speaker, everything. It's like, they were definitely like tapping into like pop culture. Like, this is what you all care about. This is what you get. Here's where it gets a little perverted though in our version, Yeah,
and like even that like the Super Mario.
It's kind of the end, right?
Yeah.
The coins they're throwing at them are literally Super Mario coins, and they're pixelated.
Yeah. It's just like, it's fun, and it's really well thought out, and you could tell they put a lot of thought and care into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really like the consistency of like Day's idiosyncrasies. Like her like palm out, and she's like, no. And the fact that every time she does it, it never works.
Yeah, it's like her digging her heels in, but like she's also a pushover.
Yeah.
Like she no, you can't have that cardboard cut out. And then it's, well, damn it, I'm a sucker.
Yeah. And it's just, they know their characters so well, and they've stayed true to their characters, like written wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the show also, with her especially, like she has this motivation, and as it's being a satire of different, and it's challenging different ideas in society and stuff, it never feels like it gets like stops and gets super preachy. It's sort of like, hey, here's the screwed up things about this society, and here's the idiosyncrasies of this character, and she exists in this world, and you can think about the world however you want to think about the world, but here's how she thinks about the world. And we get to see it through her eyes and then each of the characters' eyes. I also love her, like, her gung-ho, her, like, ha! Like, her gung-ho, like, call when she's like, I'm gonna do it. And everyone starts looking at her, like, what are you doing? And then they look at her and they go, ha! Like, they copy her. I was like, yes, it's so good.
It is, like, it's just, like, her influence over other people. And that's just, like, and that's why she's, like, the popular vote.
Well, she had this, like, eagerness and this kind of doe-eyed enthusiasm, like for the games, like when it was like the challenge was set in front of her, she's like, no, I got this. And it was just very earnest in a way that's kind of like likable.
It's also really, it's like almost like an unwritten rule that like Jin loses. It's like the running joke. It's funny because the whole show is like comedy, but he's also the comedic relief.
Yeah, in a weird way,
yeah.
I guess. I mean, he's kind of the buffoon of the bunch.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just like a statement of like, oh, this guy will never make it type thing.
Well, and also, but if you notice too, like, he's a loser, right? Like, by definition, he's the loser of the group. He always loses the competitions. He's like the dork with glasses, where everyone else, you know, one guy's taking off his shirt and the other is just, you know, the hunk, and Almond is like super tall, and he's just this kind of like weird dude with glasses. But the woman who ends up with him is like fawning over him, because this is a world where men are very rare. So even the loseriest loser can command the attention of, you know, one of the girls who's in the reality show. Yeah. Like, I think that was like a good, I don't know if they necessarily meant to do that. And because like every time, if you notice, especially in the last couple episodes, when him and the girl he gets paired with, I cannot remember her name. She's a very minor character. But every time you see her, she's looking at him like, she's like fawning over him. And I'm like, oh, that's the losery dude. And she's just like so lucky to be there, because, you know, in this world, like, getting paired up is very rare. Yeah. You know, or getting paired up with a guy is very rare.
Yeah. Well, the fact it was, like, what, they started out with, like, 100 or something?
Yeah, and she's in the finals. And,
yeah. You know. So there were, like, she had to beat out a lot of people to be with that guy.
Exactly, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah. I actually really liked that they didn't make it where, like, it was, like, that Cinderella story where, like, Day, you know, is trying to be on the show, and, like, she is just, like, aiming to find love. And I like that she went on the show and it's not for love, or it's for love for her sister, not for, you know, love of a random guy.
Well, yeah, she doesn't care about finding a relationship. Like, she has this responsibility and she works hard. Like, I like the part where they go through all the jobs she used to have. And it's like, oh, she's worked really hard to keep her and her sister afloat in this world. And so it's like, love isn't really on her mind. So it's not like Willy Wonka, where it's just like, oh, I hope I get the golden ticket so I can, you know, she was just like, oh, I got to go do this? Yeah. This is inconvenient. Okay, I'll go because my sister wants me to go. Yeah. And I'll go get the guy's autograph. Like, that's literally why she went. And then she gets there and she's like, ooh, free food.
Dude, that would be me. I'd be like, damn, buffet, hell yeah.
No, I love it, though, because when all the guys walk in and all the girls turn, and she's like, whoa, I'm out of food. And then she just goes to the buffet.
Yeah. Well, like, it was, like, that one specific moment where, like, what do they call them, the oxygens?
No, the organics.
Oh, the organics. Yes, the organics come in, and, like, everyone's, like, turned around, paying attention to the organics, and then she's at the buffet, like, just cramming her face.
But even that, there was, like, a hint of, like, the Mean Girls, like, in the cafeteria even there, and they're even wearing a very similar color to what they call them, the plastics in Mean Girl, I think they called them.
Wasn't it pink? I thought the plastics were pink. They were white.
I thought they were wearing white and pink in that. Because I think, well, maybe there was their sashes that were pink and they all had those. Oh, yeah. I think that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. But I like, they do that Mean Girl walk, and it's like, even in Mean Girls, like, everyone pays attention, and everyone's paying attention except she's just like, I need more shrimp cocktail, or whatever it was.
Yeah. But, you know, the thing is, these Mean Girl characters we've seen a lot now in, like, different shows, dramas, movies, whatever, right? I just really like that they gave this new, the organics, like, more substance and more, like, well-rounded characteristics, and they're not actually mean girls.
Yeah, they start out, I mean, they're the elites, right? Yeah. And they start out by this kind of unapproachableness to them that kind of slowly melts through the course of the series. Yeah. And so I do think it was much better than just making them kind of stock bad guys that she had to defeat. Yeah. Which, again, goes back to the care they put into the show as a whole. I feel like they cared about all of the characters that they decided to feature. Obviously, they're not going to feature all 100 contestants. So the ones that we focus on the show, they made sure that all of them had motivations. All of them were real human beings with real emotions and real wants and desires and obstacles. And none of them were just a cardboard cutout of, I want this generic thing. You know, it seems like that at the beginning. Oh, they're all there for love, and because guys are really rare and they all want a guy. And it's like, well, not really. Like, it really wasn't about the men when you really think about it.
Yeah, that's why I really liked the characters in this. All the characters are like well rounded. They all have their own personalities. They just have a lot of depth, and it's just like you have to peel back each layer to each character, and I love characters like that. That's like some of my favorite characters. I like some of the like little clues that they drop before revealing anything. Like, it's just one of those, like, the small subtleties that an audience has to kind of discover. And then, like, when they actually reveal it to the audience is like, oh, that's right. That's why I noticed this thing, and I think they did really well with it, from, like, when Day's sister comes into the convenience store, and how they don't just like immediately reveal to you that she's her sister, and it's like almost like this, like pest to her, but then like the fact that, like, she goes and buys stuff, and then Day has to pull her own phone out, and like pay for the things, and it's just like, oh, we had to notice that about their relationship before they later reveal, oh, Day goes home and, sister is at home. And then, like, the fireworks thing where Sun, like, has a really big reaction, and I felt like it was a really natural reaction, and I was just like, oh.
Well, he reacts to the party poppers going off inside the room, and he kind of flinches, and in that moment, it means nothing.
Yeah,
right? It
like,
means nothing. You're just like,
surprised.
Oh, he flinched.
Yeah.
But then later it's featured when it's like, well, which one of these guys is afraid of fireworks? And it actually helps her because she noticed.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, she was observant. If you noticed in that first scene, she scans her own phone. They don't make a meal of it. Like, they don't have the cheesy, like, dialogue, I gotta pay for your stuff again. And she's, oh, sister. It's like, it's all that cheesy stuff where you just cringe at the bad dialogue. It's like, oh, yeah, you have to introduce the fact that they're sisters. And they just kind of, I would call it, they trusted the audience. Like, they just trusted us to go, if we didn't get it in this moment, we're not going to be so pulled out of the show that we won't wait for the reveal a scene or two later.
Yeah. So one of my favorite scenes, literally when it happened, I was like, yes, I love that shit.
Oh boy, here we go. There was some shouting going on.
Yes, but it's just, I love it when rivals become friends, and just like the first inkling of it.
Like, I remember, like they're in the car, like they're doing the challenge with Sun, and it's Day, Chanel, and Bovie all in the car, and there's that moment where there's like a mutual respect where it's kind of like, all right, I have to give that one to you, and you're like, yes, I love, like, you're starting to see the cracks, come through. Like, these people are all, they're competitors. They want the same dude, like the two of them do. They want to succeed. They all want to win the game. Oh, you're not good enough because we're the organics and you're just this lowly, nobody. But then it was like the cracks started to form of, no, this could at least be respect. Even if they aren't going to be the bestest of friends from here to eternity, they're going to be like, okay, you're not so bad.
Yeah, and also, like, I like that Chanel wasn't super, like, sabotagey.
No, she didn't cheat.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't the type of contestant that, like, cheated at, like, people were cheating on her behalf a little bit. Mm-hmm. It felt like, they were definitely trying to stack the deck in her favor. But she wasn't that much of a villain.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, ultimately was not a villain, but, like, I like that she wasn't, like, so desperate to, like, do the sabotage or, like, in the corner, like, conniving and scheming.
Even in the last moments where they have to run up that slippery ramp with the pen, it's not like she, like, bashes her with the pen and, like, it's Day's fault that she falls down and doesn't get there. Like, she lost on her own merit, and other girl actually wins. Chanel wins on her own merit.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, no, may the best girl win kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really good. I also like the fact that they were able to do kind of rivals to friends without making them super warm and gushy and, like, best friends.
Yeah.
Like, these two people don't hang out with each other really after the show. You know what I mean? But, like, they're like, hey, I'm not going to be a bitch to you either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like when they, especially when Chanel like is like, I want something different from what you want, so there's no reason for me to do anything to you. And like literally, she's like, I paved the way for you. But it's not like, now let's go shopping together.
Yeah, which I don't think we need. We don't need to bridge that gap all the way from rivals to best buds forever and let's go get matching tattoos. Like, it just felt like it was the appropriate amount of where these two characters should be for each other.
Yeah.
She's like, I could sabotage you. I could just take this dude, but it wouldn't be what I want, and it's not what you want either. So why would I do that other than just being spiteful?
Yeah. So I think there's been some pretty good foreshadowing in this show. Especially like what the moment Max says to her, like, tomorrow you have to pick me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, she's definitely gonna pick him. Like, there was no doubt at that moment. But it's just like, I don't think it was like super like, blatant that that's the foreshadowing part, but it's definitely like a little kicker.
Yeah, they set up things well in order to pay them off. And I felt like a lot of their payoffs, were made satisfying because they didn't come out of nowhere. When we talk about having to go through the quiz and she knows nothing about these 5 guys because she is the only person in the world that does not care. But her sister does. And so the only way she's going to get through round 1 of this competition is thinking about moments with her sister, which is awesome because it's also why she's doing it. We get to see their relationship. We get to see them kind of, oh, this is who they are to each other and how much they care about each other. And she's able to like compete in the game, not because she knows the most about these guys, because that would have been weird. Like, It would have been weird if she all of a sudden, oh, my superpower is I know about these dudes. But her superpower is I love my sister. And so she used her superpower. Because I going into that sequence, I was like, how is she going to, like, other than just following the other girls to the right circle, how is she going to navigate this? Because she knows nothing. And I hope it's not just, well, I'm just going to follow Chanel around and copy her. Because, like, that's not a superpower.
Yeah.
That's not interesting as a character. And they found a way to do it. They set this up and they paid it off.
At first I was a little like, I'm not really interested in a season 2 of it. And also that like weird stare of the mom, like into the like camera, breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. And and like, she is so over the top, and like, I think she's the most caricature-y villain in the whole show, right? But then I really liked, the setup for the season 2, that I might actually be interested in it. I've been kind of like, one of my hiccups on this show was, I was like, why does this mom care so much about Sun? Like, why him? Like, what's so special about him other than the fact that he's casted as the protagonist of the series, right? Like, why does Chanel have to marry Sun? Because there's 5 other guys. The goal is to just get a guy. Like, that's literally like...
Yeah, why does she care who she chooses on that last podium?
Yeah, like, being matched with a guy is just being matched with a guy. That's, like, winning already. So why is it important for Sun? And then you realize, like, in the end, when they just show you that little snippet and, like, set up for season 2, and it's like, oh, Chanel's dad said, oh, your mom has had to live with someone that she hasn't loved her whole, marriage.
Meaning him.
And then you show Sun's dad, who is the one that tried to get Sun to, to break free, and you see him at City Ground, or a picture of him at City Ground, and then you're like, oh...
He's the one that got away.
And she's a scorned lover. That's why she's so obsessive over Sun. Like, oh, she wasn't able to marry the dad, but her daughter has to marry the son.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like her winning through her kid.
Yeah.
And I think, the reason, obviously I don't really like her character.
She's too...
She's so evil mustache twisty and stuff, but also she's kind of playing a parody of the evil mom, the evil stepmom thing that goes back to Cinderella. You know what I mean? Like, this character is a staple in drama in every culture.
Yes.
Like the evil mother, either evil mother-in-law, this next generation, we talked about it last week, the Empress Dowager, like just this previous generation, older, overbearing parent is in everything. And she's playing a caricature of that character. So it is parody in itself.
Yeah.
Even though it's like, it's a little eye-rolly. But at the same time, I kind of got it. Like, I was like, she doesn't need to be more because that's her role. She's meant to be this, just overbearing parent. And at the very, very end, they gave her just a little bit of a shade of what we talked about before with she has a want and a desire and a reason she is the way she is, not just 'cause. Which up until that point, that's what it was. It's like, you have to be with son 'cause.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I felt like most of the characters were so well-rounded and they each had, like, an objective. And her objective was so fake originally, I feel like. And, like, I felt like her character was, like, the only one that wasn't well-rounded. And then, right at the end, they gave it to you.
Listen, the only character that wasn't well-rounded was Jin. We know that.
That's true.
We don't know what that guy wants at all.
Well, I guess what he wants is just to marry a woman, right?
I guess so.
I don't know. Anyway, so...
But you're right, and I think they do a good job of kind of showing every side of it a little bit. Even if all sides aren't given equal attention, they're all given some attention. Like, I think with Almond being the kind of voice of, hey, I know you guys think this is a prison. To me, this is still home. And even though you've showed me the truth, I'm comfortable at home. I can totally see that being a point of view someone would have. I think I referenced The Matrix when we were watching it, like in the first Matrix where Joe Pantaleone's character is basically like, no, put me back in. Ignorance is bliss. I hate the real world. And it did feel like there needed to be someone that kind of voiced that. Like, I know you guys are trying to lead a rebellion, but I kind of like it here.
Yeah, I mean, he's lived, like, a comfortable life, like, given everything that he wants. Like, who wouldn't want that?
Well, he also doesn't really want to see it. I think that was also important, too. It's not that he doesn't care. And I think maybe even in a season 2, they would turn that character because he hasn't really been face-to-face with his mom, who was forced to give him up.
Yeah.
And so he played that very much like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what's in a hot dog. I eat hot dogs because I like them. I don't want to know what's in them. And because he knows if he really knew, he might feel differently.
Yeah. And I like the fact that Chanel wasn't just an obsessive, person that just, like, wanted son, like this. Because we've seen so many of those characters. Where, like, the girl would, like, do anything to get the guy, specific guy. And I like that she had, like, mommy issues. And, like, I totally can relate to her. Like, I've lived a lot of my adolescence, like, trying to live up to expectations and, like, never meeting them. And it's just kind of, like... It really messes you up.
Well, it's all the pressure. It's like a pressure cooker. Like, you want your home to be a support system, and then it's just not because someone else has their own desires for you and putting yours to the side. And so, like, living vicariously through someone else is not healthy for the person that's being lived vicariously through. You know what I mean? If you have control over them.
Yeah.
But I think I said this already, but it feels like they did a really good job of making this show about a dating show, not really about the dating.
Yeah.
And not really about the object of the game show, which is get yourself a man. It's like none of the characters are getting together necessarily just to get together. They all have their, like, reason I'm here. Like, and their insecurities, like Max's insecurity is about always being kind of runner-up to Sun. And, like, yes, he likes Chanel and he thinks they should be together, but it's also like, I've never been able to measure up. I've always been in this guy's shadow, no matter how hard I try. And he's got such look at me energy. You know, he takes his shirt off in half the scenes in the show.
Yeah.
But it's not just because he likes to take his shirt off. It's because he's like, how else do I get out of this guy's shadow? He's Mr. Perfect.
Yeah. Which, it's funny because, yes, him taking off his shirt in, like, every scene is funny. It's so funny, right? Like, and you're like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? But then you're like, oh, it's just so much deeper than that. Like, just being funny is, like, surface. Then you have to dig deeper into, like, emotional, like, attachment and, like, entanglements.
And I think you have to keep reminding yourself when you watch the show, it's satire, it's parody. It's not that they're saying people take their shirts off all the time. It's that there are actually people like this out there that think taking off their shirt will enhance their standing in some way. Like,
will get the attention.
Yeah, and so, like, it's played big on purpose. It's not funny just because, like, oh my god, taking your shirt off is so hilarious and real. It's funny because there's a layer and a level to it that is commenting on, no, there's someone out there that actually thinks taking their shirt off in every scene of a reality show is going to get them more screen time. Which
they would, normally.
Right. But that's the joke. It's not just that, haha, he's showing his abs again.
Yeah. So for me, I enjoy Bovie.
Well, she's a homegirl.
She's so cute. Like, first of all, like, so I normally have a hard time with the really, like, cutesy, bubbly girl.
Do you, though? It feels like there's lots of cutesy, bubbly girls that you love. I know what you're saying, though. You're saying that that's their primary character trait. Like when the substance of their character is cutesy, bubbly sidekick, there's no other substance there usually.
Yeah. But for her, I just love how, like the main thing is, like, yeah, I liked Max, you know, but you're my best friend. I've only liked Max for a few years, but I've known you my whole life. Like, of course I support you and want you to be with who you want to be. And I just love how she was supportive of Paper. Like, it's just this, like, sincereness about her. Like, she's just, like, a good friend. Mm-hmm. You know, and even at the end when she's like, good luck for you to Paper when he's, like, about to leave, you know, and run away. And it's just, like, I didn't think that was her character, but it's so great that it turned out to be that, you know?
She's probably the most genuine character maybe in the whole show, as far as just when she decides there's a loyalty or a friendship, like, she's very genuine in that love and respect. And then it's consistent throughout. Like, she'll do anything for Chanel because, not necessarily because Chanel is even that good to her, but it's like, we've been through thick and thin. You know, we've been friends forever. And, like, you can't scorn me by, you know, a couple of days on a reality show. Like, now we're not enemies. Like, it's so much deeper than that. You know what I mean? And then I thought, it was like, there's totally a way they could have gone and made them rivals. And she's like, oh, she cheated in that game, and now, or she blamed me for losing, and now I hate her. And
or like, oh, Max likes her, and so now I'm gonna do bad things to her, which, like, is in so many other dramas and shows and movies and stuff. And it's just like, we've seen that character, but this one feels like real.
That's what I would say about, again, these characters is some characters are given more time and more depth, but every character is kind of flushed out and made to be and behave like a human being. So when you hear us on this podcast talk about characters who just act like robots and they're not behaving like a human because the script needs them to do this in a scene, the script needs them to sabotage their best friend, the script needs them to run into a burning building, and you're like, but why would the human do that? And I think this show really remembered and reminded itself over and over and over again that every one of these characters is a human being. They're not programmed robots, which sounds like a stupid thing you have to remind yourself until you're in the middle of a script and you realize half your characters don't have any intention or desires or wants, and they just don't behave like humans. They're behaving like instruments for plot. And they avoided that in a big way in the show.
Yeah. You up to like Jenny, like you think she's like this terrible villainous, producer, and she has like another side, and like she has to, it's her job, so she has to do a good job. She's like about producing this reality show, and then she so happens to have to like listen to Chanel's mom, but like the fact that like every time she like gets off work and she's just like she's actually kind of bubbly and like cutesy with her significant other. And I'm just like, she even like her character can easily be like, oh, one note.
Mm-hmm. They didn't have to do those scenes the way they did them with her wife. Like, they didn't have to be like, oh, she can be bubbly and a little weird, because you could see how someone would be like, well, that's really inconsistent because that's not how she acts. Well, it's not inconsistent because we're different people at work than we are at home. And when you swim with sharks, and trust me, producing reality TV, there's some sharks out there.
Yeah.
When you swim with sharks, you have to be a big bad shark. That's how you get to be the successful producer of the biggest reality show in all of the land, which is who her character is. So it feels like the audience got to see behind the curtain the way that her coworkers don't get to see behind the curtain. So I think we should talk a little bit about the dynamic between Sun and Day. Because it felt initially like, obviously she's not really interested in him as a love interest at the beginning. It's much more the means to the end to secure her life, to get her sister good treatment. And so I really liked how she decides she's going to play the game now. I think it's, episode 2, 3, she's like, all right, I'm going to play the game now. So I got to be sexy and attractive, and I got to be a woman who he's going to like want to be with. And then they have the date, and she's horrible. Like, she doesn't eat. She like doesn't have anything to say. It's just like the worst first date everyone has ever been on, when the person has just a wet napkin. Like, they are just
like super fake. Like, I have such a hard time with like characters that all of a sudden like want to be really fake. Like something like Everyone Loves Me or something like that, where she like at first acts like she is a girly girl, and like the like, oh, needs like is like the damsel in distress, needs the guy to come and help her, even though her real personality is like a cursing game playing badass kind of thing. And then she's like, and I hate it. I hate watching like girls think that they need to be a certain way to impress a guy.
Yeah, it's patronizing in a weird way. Like, it's patronizing to the audience, and it's just like, who wants to be with that person?
Yeah.
Like, who wants to be with the fake version? Also, wouldn't being that fake all the time be exhausting?
Yeah.
Like, just to be someone else all this whole time. But what I like is, he kind of calls her out on it after the date, and he's just like, that's not who you are. Like, that was awful. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't want to hang out with that person fucking ever.
Yeah, and it's just interesting to me because, yes, he was freaking super dicky. Like,
yeah, he was a pretty big asshole.
Yeah, like, I just, like, that's so, it is really mean, right? But, like, also, I like that he called her out. I like that he was like, you are not being yourself. Everyone knows you are not being yourself. Like, we've all seen how you are. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, that's your passion, and that's, and you barely even can touch your food. When we've all seen you eat all the food at the buffet. Like,
well, also, it's like patronizing to him that she thought he would buy it.
Yeah.
It's like, am I that stupid that you thought I was going to like, you were going to trick me into liking you with this like batting your eyelashes routine? Like, I'm not a dummy.
Yeah.
And like, he was way too harsh, but and then she kind of gets to come back like, hey, you don't understand my life. You don't, like, the reason she was doing that is because she's desperate. Yeah. And she went about it wrong, but she needs to win. She has to win for a better life.
Yeah. But I also like that she wasn't like, oh, like, yes, she was like, that guy's a dickhead, because he was, right? But, like, also, I like that she admitted that she was, like, so embarrassed that, like, she realized how fake she was being, and like that he even had to see her act that way.
Mm-hmm.
And like she made herself cringe thinking about it. So how can other people not feel cringy?
Yeah, it was a good moment between the two of them. I mean, their romance in the show isn't real deep.
Yeah.
I would say, like, it's fairly... And I would say that for most of the show, the romantic pairings, it's not the most romantic show ever. And a lot of times you're like, they like each other? Like, yeah, I guess so. And,
I totally didn't think Chanel liked Max at all.
Yeah, and you get tinges of it, but they really didn't prioritize that in the show. And even with, Sun and Day, like, yeah, they have this connection because of their childhood. But other than that, they don't have a lot of romance. There's 2 or 3 moments, I think, maybe in the whole show where they have a chance to kind of interact. And this is one of them, where he can kind of call her out on the bullshit. And it kind of shows that they're pretty good together as far as, like, he calls her out. She kind of fires back at him. They both go off in their own corner and go, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right, too. And then they come back together and actually have a dialogue about it. Like, it's one of the few moments in the show that actually does it. So it felt really necessary. Because without it, it would have been really tough to generate that relationship above anything else than the childhood connection.
Yeah.
But should we talk a little bit about the social commentary of... Because like a good satire or parody, it's not just parody for parody's sake. Like, they're definitely trying to shine a light at the stuff our society doesn't do so well. And I do think that's really why satire and parody are so protected. Like, weirdly, parody is protected, like, legally. Like, you are allowed to parody someone else's song or parody someone else's show. It is legal. It is a protected part of free speech in America.
Isn't it also, like, someone opened a parody restaurant and they're allowed to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly where the legality, in a parody restaurant, are you allowed to use, like, trademarked logos? I don't know about that, but you're definitely allowed to, like, parody someone's, if someone had a restaurant where you had to eat in the dark and you thought that was a ridiculous idea, because it is. It's a fucking ridiculous idea to eat in the dark where you can't see your food. Or be blindfolded during your meal. I don't understand these places. Anyways, I would make a parody restaurant of that where you're not allowed to hear.
Shut up,
You're not allowed to hear your food. Everyone has to wear headphones. And you get played loud heavy metal death music in your ear while you eat. And that is going to be an enjoyable experience because you know why? My marketing team said so. But back to this.
Yes.
But I do think, like, this really talks about... I mean, here you have kind of a screwed up society that shepherds off all men to this farm. And because of media and because of reality TV shows, people are, like, all for it. People enjoy it. People love the spectacle of this reality show. And so we have a system of government that is weird and wrong, yet everyone is buying tickets to sell out the stadium to watch it because of how media is portraying it. It just shows you the power of media and the power of the entertainment we watch. And, like, I thought that was a very interesting... You don't see that many shows really go after kind of mass media like that.
Yeah. But also, like, just the fact that, like, Day's sister basically finds all the information online through media and all that stuff of how a date is supposed to go and how a girl is supposed to behave on a date.
Yeah, she's learning how to live because of the media she consumes.
Yeah, and it's, like, totally fucking wrong. Like, the media telling you how you shouldn't be yourself, and then you have to be fake in order to get the guy or get the significant other. And it's just like, fucking be yourself. That's all we fucking want, Yeah.
So it just feels like people take themselves out of their own body when they kind of consume things that are on the internet or in television and then are like, oh yeah, that's how we should act on a first date. And it's just a little bizarre, but it is how we consume media a lot of times.
Yeah. But yeah, I do really like how, the show is calling out, government control and like how we need equality and like showing like the different class system and the, like the elitism, in society. And it's a lot of big statements for this comedy.
Yeah, it's a little silly show that just happens to take on a lot of these big ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, especially we had this discussion as we were going through it of like, why, if you were a mother and you had a boy, in a world where men are really, really rare, at the beginning of the show, they're like, there hasn't been a boy born in like 4 years. So if you're a mother and you give birth to a boy, why was that mother so ostracized? Why wasn't she just allowed to like
move to the farm and raise the kid? I was just saying, like, they have to, like, they have a bunch of boys just on this like farm, right? And they have to be raised anyway. Why are you hiring nannies and people to watch over these kids, when you literally just have the parents move to the farm and raise these boys, these sons, because that's like you're spending extra money on hiring people to take care of these sons that you've ripped away from their parents.
Yeah, and I think they didn't answer it super well, but I do think it was all about class. It was that if you're low class and you have a boy, you don't deserve to have a boy. So you don't deserve to be in the club because you're low class. The boy is special, right? So he gets to come live on the farm, but we don't want this peasant woman living with us. So either you give up your kid or we put you in this government-controlled facility and drug you out of your mind. And I think that is it. That's the only answer that really satisfies, like, so why wouldn't the parents just get a free ticket to paradise? Like, you had a boy, congratulations, here's your government ticket to paradise. Well, you don't want, the janitor living in paradise with, the producer and the elitist and all these other people. Like, you're like, no, they're a different class. They see themselves above this. And so you can't let the riffraff move in.
Yeah, but it's also like, if the woman has a boy, right, and like there hasn't been a boy born in the last 4 years, wouldn't you want to continue using that woman to,
That I agree with you on. That was a question I was thought of, like, if you had one boy, would you be more, because you know people who have 4 sons, 3 sons. Like, I have 2 brothers. My mom had 3 boys. And so it's like, oh, if you had one boy, would you be more likely to have another? Wouldn't you want to use them as a resource? That was the part that I don't think that Ray ever really gave me a satisfying answer to, of like...
Well, the thing is, it's the argument that, like, women's eggs are always the X chromosome. So, like, it's the men's sperm that is either an X or a Y. So if it's XX, it's girl. XY, it's a boy.
Yeah, but I mean, also we're arguing over like biology in a sci-fi universe a little bit, because like all of a sudden people, like, they have so much science where they can make all these babies in labs, and like, the Jenny and her wife are having a baby, so like that baby was created in a way. So there has to be something else. The mystery of, well, wait, why can't boys exist more? Obviously, it's just part of the hand waving of this show of going, yeah, it's a mystery. We don't know why.
I don't know. It's so weird just like to make these women go crazy.
But I will say, the thing that made me buy it a little bit is I watched a video the other day on TikTok, I think it was TikTok, and it was a man going to this guy's house and basically saying, hey, we just realized you're renting this apartment in this neighborhood. Well, we're all homeowners and we don't want renters here, so you should move. And I'm like, whoa, what? Like, just because the guy's a renter, not a homeowner, someone felt brazen enough to go to his front door and go, hey, we don't want your kind here. So I would totally get people living in this commune on top of this hill in this perfect society, and I don't even know what they would consider like a lowly job, like where the cutoff line is, but like, let's say you're a car mechanic and you're greasy every day because you're a car mechanic. They don't want some car mechanic moving into their paradise and lowering the price of housing or whatever this guy's argument was for why he hated renters. But I do believe that exists to me in real life.
Yeah.
And so that's what brought it back a little bit for me. But I don't quite understand all of it, I guess.
Yeah. No, I've seen videos where, like, you know, people think that they don't look like they fit into the neighborhood.
You don't fit the mold, so we don't like you. I mean, it's where all bias comes from, is fear of the unknown, and I like my kind and I don't like your kind.
Yeah.
But I do think the thing I think they got 100% right is in a world where there's any valuable resource, and in this world, you know, these men are a valuable resource. You can bet there's a TV producer with a reality show idea sitting just off camera going, we could make some money on this. I'd buy that 1,000,000%.
Yes.
Because there's a way that this world is like dark and dystopian, and instead they decide to make a reality show out of it. I'm like, yeah, no, I get it.
It's weirdly like, so should we talk about some of the issues in the show, like where we didn't like it?
There were a few things that were a little off.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be right out and say how creepy Paper's love interest is.
Yeah, the underground radio, nighttime radio with Creepy Man.
He is so creepy. I'm like, Paper, why are you attracted to him? Like, just because he sings well? Like, he is real scary and creepy. Like,
I don't know if you know this, but being able to play a guitar is kind of the way to unlock.
So you can be as creepy as you want, as long as you can play the guitar and sing.
Yes, that is what all rock bands have showed us in history. No guitarist of any rock band in history could have gotten laid without the guitar. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Slash. No, you never gotten laid if you didn't play guitar. No, but he liked him before they ever met.
Yeah.
Like, he liked his radio personality, and then they were texting, which I still don't quite understand, like, how he was able to text this underground guy, and then the guy, like, got back to him. Like, that was a little fuzzy to me.
Yeah.
But he's already talking to Bovie before he even meets the guy about how he's got rumblings in his tummy, and, like, he's never really had these before. And then, like, he kisses her, and he's like, yeah, I feel nothing. Like, and she's like, yeah, me too, because, you know, I only like Max. But, so he's already in, I think. And I said this to you at the very end of the show. I go, I don't think it's that the character's creepy. And maybe I'm going to get some hate for all of you, because I know he's done some shows, and maybe he's not a lead or anything, but, like, I get it. He's a bad actor.
I mean, like, he hasn't been a lead for a reason.
Yeah, I just think he's a real bad actor. I don't think the character was meant to be creepy. I just didn't think, he just didn't have any natural movement. He stared too hard at his co-star waiting to say his line. And I think it didn't really dawn on me until, like, the very last scene where like, right before they kiss, I'm like, oh, he's just bad at acting, that's all. It's okay. Some people are bad at acting.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a pretty minor character.
He's been a minor character in most of anything that I've ever seen him in. Again, he was in Lovesick, so that was a long time ago, and he's just been literally minor character after minor character after minor character, and he's just not. I don't think he's gonna get anywhere further.
I just think he needs to probably, just figure out how to grow and get to the next level and not just keep doing the same stuff, because I kept seeing an actor who was just waiting to say his lines, not an actor who was acting organically. Like, it's really juxtaposed, because the two of them are on a scene together and he is just like staring at paper waiting to say his line or like make his move, right? And then the next scene is Jenny and her wife, and or it was either the scene before that, they're so natural together, and like both of them just have a charisma together, and they sit down and they have this loving little moment, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what good acting looks like. So yeah, it was definitely a weakness of that love story, unfortunately, because it takes you out. That I'm just like, why? I get that he had to kidnap him to take him to the radio station, but every moment after that was also creepy as fuck. I was like, is this guy gonna kill him?
So creepy. I'm like, Paper, run! Get the fuck out of this!
It's like, this is a horror movie all of a sudden.
I was not having this. Like, the fact that, like, the development was so unnatural anyway, but there was just, like, absolutely no chemistry between them. And I'm like, you want me to believe that they like each other? I'm fucking scared for Paper.
Yeah, I didn't find it romantic.
Yeah.
I think they were going for romantic and missed big time.
Yeah.
I also think, and this is something you brought up kind of in the final episode especially of the competition, is that there was no real stakes for these girls to fight each other, because it wasn't like if they didn't win they didn't get a guy. There's 5 guys, and in the final episode there's 5 girls, so they're gonna match up with someone. And in a world where men are super rare, like, you're one of the few women on Earth that have a male partner. So the only stakes are, I don't get to choose first.
Yeah.
And the setup felt a little weird. It still felt like there should have been an extra or two that, like, could swoop in and, eliminate them or something. It just felt like it was kind of predetermined.
Yeah, it's just like the whole goal is just to marry a guy, right? And so the fact that, like, literally it just paired up all nicely and neatly, that it's just like, if Day wasn't there, right? Or if Day just specifically had someone, and, like, if all 5 girls had their own preference and no one, like, overlapped and wanted someone else's guy, like, this would not be a show.
No, there'd be no reason to compete, because they're like, no, I know that she likes him and he likes her, and then, so, like, we can all just skip the show and just go to the end, right?
Yeah.
And pick our dudes and go home?
Yeah. So it's very, like, if that was the outcome of the reality show, it's, like, anticlimactic.
Yeah, there was some weird structure thing, and now we're, like, pulling apart, like, the game aspect of a fake reality show. But it didn't make a ton of sense at the end why they were fighting so hard. Other than the 2 leads, we knew that, like, Day thought Chanel would pick Sun.
Yeah.
And that would be bad for her.
Yeah.
But it was a little weak in that.
But it was like, oh, Chanel's gonna pick Sun and I have to end up with Almond. Aw, shucks.
Like, they didn't love each other. It would have been a disaster. They didn't love each other. You know who didn't love their husband? The big bad of the whole show. And look how she turned out.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's just...
No, I get it. It could have been stronger. It could have been a million times stronger. They could have done better here.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing with this whole reality TV, or the whole, like, if this world is so short on men, right? I don't think that these 5, gentlemen needed to be all hot. Like, literally, you could put some very unattractive men up there. I think it would be funnier if it was, like, a bunch of, 5 unattractive men and these girls are going gaga over them because they're just men. Just the sole fact that they're men.
Maybe that's the cable version of this reality show. Like, and now we have Ready, Set, Love, ugly dude version.
I just like, I don't know.
I thought the same thing too. I thought that might be where they were going, because they showed a shot earlier with Jin and he was being kind of awkward, and I'm like, oh, are all the dudes gonna be nerds? Like, are they gonna be like dorks, and these girls gonna be like, oh my god, they're so great, because that's all that's available.
Yeah.
When there's nothing to choose from, these guys are like the cream of the crop. I also get that we are watching the show. Like, the audience at home probably wants to watch good-looking people be on a dating show.
Well, don't get me wrong. I am very happy with watching Blue on TV. Like,
Blue in a fat suit? Not so much?
No. I fucking hate fat
I know.
suits.
I was going to set you off on that.
I wish.
But then he has to lose all the weight at the very end in order to be loved.
Oh. That's like fucking dagger in my heart right now. Oh my god. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I thought they would be closer to, like, the host guy of the show, who's, like, nerdy, and he's got bad hair, and he has those big glasses, and he's, like, a host of a TV show.
So in that first scene when they're explaining that the fact that this reality show exists, it showed him and his wedding. And I feel like, I don't know if they specifically said, and I just don't remember, but, like, I feel like he was, like, one of the first contestants of, like, season 1 or whatever, you know?
Probably. Yeah, that would make sense. I don't know if I picked that up, but that would make total sense.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the worst offenses they do in the show is something that so many shows do these days, and it drives me nuts, and a lot of shows do it, is Day not learning that Sun has the other half of her necklace. The audience knows it, so we know it's going to happen at some point between the two of them. But it's just like, she's dancing and her necklace falls off, and Almond's like, oh, hey, Sun's got one of those. I'm like, so she didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to go through an obstacle to get the most important key piece of information in their relationship. It's just handed to her. And that drives me bonkers when shows don't make our main characters active. She's so incredibly active in the rest of the show. She's doing this for her sister. She's got to win the game. She's got to be the person. She keeps trying to make strides to get what she wants. But the most important thing that kind of cements the relationship between the two of them, she just kind of gets told it.
Yeah, it's like handed to her on a silver platter.
I don't like it. Like, if you have main characters, they have to earn the big things. You can give them small things. They have to earn the big things.
Yeah.
And this was a really big thing. I mean, there's a version of this where, you know, the two characters themselves don't even notice. Like, Sun doesn't see Days and Days doesn't see Sun, and it's like, you know, the producer realizes that they're, you know, and there's a way to do it where it's being kept from them.
Yeah.
And then they don't even realize what they're chasing until they've got it.
Yeah. Well, it was also really unbelievable in the first scene where, like, she walks in, right? And, like, Sun sees her for the first time and, like, notices her necklace right away, like, from, like, super across the room. And I'm like, I mean, it was like a little hint, right? And so in the beginning, you're like, what is, he recognizes her. What is he looking at her for, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I'm like, there's no way in hell that there's that far apart and he sees that random necklace.
That looks like a penny from far away. It just looks like a chopped in half penny.
Yeah. And it's just like, come on. I know you're trying to drop us a hint, but that was too much.
Yeah, the whole thing should have been executed in a much different way. It could have given you a lot more drama. It could have made both characters active. It could have made them kind of work for this relationship. And because they didn't, I think that's what I mean by, like, the romance was pretty light because it felt easy. It didn't feel like it was filled with obstacles and like they had to overcome things together as a couple. Like, they kind of liked each other. He realized who she was. Then she realized who he was, and then they liked each other more.
Yeah, but also, like, why does, like, okay, I know she saved him and, like, helped him, but why does that automatically equate to romance?
I don't know, just because when you're a man, if someone is nice to you, you assume that they love you. Especially if it's a woman. Oh, she was nice to me. She must want to have sex and marry me. Anyway. Question answered. You're welcome out there.
Oh, God. Okay. Anyway. I had a really hard time with, like, Almond's reveal of being like, the person that, like, sold them out. Because it was so obvious, like, from moment one. You know? And then, like, they were treating it as if they were, like, keeping it away from the audience. So then, in the end, when it, like, reveals that he's the one that, like, told Jenny. It was just kind of like,
Yeah, duh.
yeah, we fucking get it. We knew like episodes ago. Like,
they had to introduce him in a different way, like the way they integrated him into that plot line, like he's hiding listening to them. So like you're introducing him into this plot line of the show by being sneaky. So then he's the sneaky guy in the plot line. Of course the sneaky guy has betrayed you. Like, duh. He should have been wearing a name tag.
Sneaky guy that betrays you soon.
Hello, my name is Sneaky Guy. And then also, Sun is like, I don't know, he's like a stickler for the rules, and all of a sudden he's helping us. Like, I don't get it. And I'm like, yeah, either do we. like, I'm with you, bro. He gonna betray you. Stick with that one. There's a quote that and I've said it before on the podcast. There's a quote from a showrunner I worked with, and he would describe, things that are kind of like slow moving and inevitable in a plot. He would describe it as like, oh, this has all the drama of a cruise ship pulling into port. Meaning, cruise ships are big and slow, and not much happens on their way to the port, and they're going to get there. Like, there comes the ship in the distance, and then 2 hours later it docks. And it did the exact thing you expected it to do. So there's no drama here, because Almond does the exact thing we expected him to do, given the way it was integrated into the story. So when they make the reveal, I'm like, okay. Like, why even shoot it like a reveal? Because they're like, ooh, twist. No,
yeah,
not twist.
Yeah.
So here's another one that kind of bothered me, and weirdly, it only really bothered me the day after we finished it, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, why did they do it that way? Was the kind of revelation that Chanel's mom said, I'm proud of you, when she brings Sun home for their date in that kind of, penultimate episode. And I wish it wasn't in a flashback. I wish we got to see that moment as part of their date on the show, so that in front of the cameras, in front of Sun, in front of everyone, she says, I'm so proud of you. You've done such a good job. And she's like, you get Chanel having like a taken aback, like, oh my God, my mom's been such an ice queen this whole show. Here she is. I'm proud of me. But doing it in a flashback just felt like it was really, didn't allow us to digest the emotions that Chanel was going through. Because in the same scene, we have to understand that her mom said that she's proud of her. Then we have to understand that's the thing she's always wanted. And then we have to understand that it wasn't the feeling she actually wanted. And then we have to understand her devastation of that. All in one scene.
Yeah, it's just the thing is, like, she like, literally just had to say it. Like, tell the audience, tell Max. And it's just like, that just becomes exposition.
Yeah, at that point.
Yeah, and it just no longer is effective, has no impact, and it's just this wet noodle.
Well, it's kind of the idea, like, in an action show, if you were like to introduce a bomb, and then in the exact same scene that you introduced the bomb, you defuse the bomb. Like, it kind of means nothing. But if you introduce the bomb 30 minutes into the movie and it's ticking the whole movie, now you get to like relish the danger and wonder if your characters are going to get there to defuse the bomb. So you get to digest these ideas separately. So if you would have heard it earlier, she said, hey, by the way, I'm really proud of you. And like, you get a reaction from Chanel, but again, the way the show should have done it, wait, what was that reaction? Why did she have such a weird reaction to her mom saying, I'm proud of you? Mm-hmm. And then Max sees her upset, and she's like, why are you upset? It's because my mom told me the thing I always wanted to hear, and it didn't mean anything. Because I'm not being myself. Now we've got to live with it. We get to digest those things separately. And now it's effective, and now you understand why she's crying. Because she doesn't have to do a page of exposition to explain to Max what just happened.
Yeah.
So it was a missed opportunity. I mean, it's not huge. Again, it was something I noticed the day after, but it's something like, those are the differences between like really making a moment impactful and not. And I think that's why most of the romance in the show didn't really land. Like, none of the pairings, I was like, man, I'm so glad they're together. They're the best couple.
Yeah.
I get it that you want me to feel it. You want me to feel Chanel and Max. You want me to feel Day and Sun, You Want Me to Feel, Radio Boy, and Paper. But I get that they're supposed to be together because of the show, but I didn't really feel any of it.
Yeah. So those are some big issues with the show. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I really like the comedy. I really like, the big statements that they have. The characters are probably the strongest out of everything.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun.
Yeah.
I found myself smiling through a lot of it. Just kind of enjoying the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those shows, you don't have to pay attention that hard, but it does reward you when you do. You get to pick up all the little subtleties. It was both more complex than I thought and also simple and more stupid than I thought. Like, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
So for me, I could go both ways of onboard karaoke or in the buffet line.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm like right dead in the middle of those two.
Yeah, and I really can't decide because I liked it enough to be in the buffet line, but there are some big issues with it that I'm like, oh yeah, it's more like onboard karaoke.
Yeah, I think the only reason I'm leaning toward in the buffet line is that I think if we logged into Netflix right now and saw there was a season 2, I would probably watch it. And that's maybe the only thing that pushes me into in the buffet line is I'd probably click on it and watch it.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't have to agree with me.
I don't know. I'm still in the middle, but we don't have like half
On board buffet line? Karaoke buffet line?
Whoa.
Karaoke buffet line. That might be a 10 out of 10.
Shut up.
I think we need to rearrange this drama means effective scale. Oh, I just invented something. A Las Vegas show called Karaoke Buffet Line.
No.
Yes. What does Vegas do better than music and buffets?
Dude, Vegas doesn't even do buffets anymore.
What are you talking about?
Barely. There's only a few that does it.
Yeah, but they're the biggest, nastiest buffets in the whole world. I hate buffets.
See, that's so weird because buffets are my comfort food.
Okay, we're getting way off track. So
Anyway,
So I said in the buffet line, and you.
I'm in the middle. I can't choose.
Oh boy, it's the first ever here.
Yeah. So let's just leave it at that.
Okay, let's just leave it at that. You have a recommendation?
I have a recommendation.
This week? Is it super relevant and tied into the overall theme of satire and parody and
super not relevant and it has zero correlation at all, but the fact that FT Island just released their song Burn It, and I've been playing it on repeat like ever since it was released, so I'm gonna recommend that one. So go and like put it on repeat, and yeah, and buy the albums and buy all the merch. They actually, after 17 years, they have an official light stick.
Wow, 17 years. There's no way I'm old enough for FT Island to be in their 17th year.
Yeah, for sure.
Gross.
I've been a prima donna for 17 years now, and so go listen to FT Island if you've never heard of them. They're fucking amazing. Hongi has this amazing voice, and it's so weird because honestly, like, recordings of his singing does not do him justice. You have to like listen to him sing live. Like, his voice penetrates through your soul. But yeah, go check out their new song Burn It. It's, streaming on all platforms, but find it and buy the album too. Yes. Anyway.
On that note, thank you so much for listening. We will be back again next week with another episode. In the meantime, please check us out on Instagram, where we post things like the songs and the books and all the stuff we recommend. So make sure you're checking us out there at @DramaMeans_podcast. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah, and we will see you next week.